I am the queen of this division for sure. I don't need that belt to say that, you know, like, I don't think anyone could deny that I should be sat at the top of that table.
If you've been here for a while, you already know where we stand about Dakota Ditcheva. We've covered her fights the moment they got announced. We defended her when people said she was overhyped. 15 wins, 0 losses, $1 million trophy, and a highlight reel that looks like it was scripted. So there's no doubt that Dakota is on our top tier list. But as you know, the fight game is unpredictable. So the question is, on July 31st, is Denise Kielholtz the most dangerous woman Dakota has ever shared the cage with?
Well, submissions come when you hurt people with your hands and you put them down in their rock, their ability to defend themselves. Oh, there it is, she's in trouble. This fight's over.
We'll see just the next name on a list built to keep the hype train exactly on schedule. By the end of this video, you'll know where we stand on this fight. We're wondering where you guys stand. Are you with Dakota or against her? Let us know in the comments and let's chop it up. Let's get into it. Here's what throws a curveball in this fight before a single punch was even thrown. Dakota hasn't fought in over a year. Her last time in the cage was July 2025, a decision win over Sumiko Inaba that ended with her walking away with a broken hand.
Away traffic.
Oh, nasty knee right up the middle from Dakota. And she's showing off now.
And she's talking to her corner in there.
I think she told her corner that she broke her hand.
Breaking my hand in my fight with Sumiko was like the first major big injury that I'd ever had, so really tough time for me, one that put me out for a while. Yeah, I think I've injured my left arm, but I think I'm just more gutted because I've been out for so long and then I've come back and I'm injured again.
Immediately after that win, she signed a new long-term deal with PFL. Then she was out due to her injury. Dakota was supposed to fight Kielholtz in February in Dubai, but that fell apart when Ditcheva picked up a second hand injury during her recovery.
When I first injured my hand that second time, I was in Thailand. I'd booked, 3 weeks for a training camp. It was after the first week of being there, and I just thought, oh my God, like, am I even meant to fight again?
I literally gave up my whole life to this sport. And I'm so grateful for everything I've had out of it. But at the same time, in times like this, I just like, what am I doing it for?
Coming back to ATT, I felt like crying inside to come into the gym and sit on the benches and just watch the fighters. Then I felt like the world was just completely leaving me behind and I was just watching it in front of me. It was horrible.
Dakota's been off physically for a year, basically because the hand surgery, but not mentally. I believe the only time she took off was the day of the surgery.
Oh, you don't have to know the reason why things don't happen. It just doesn't work out that way. And now look, I'm here with the same fight, healed 10 times better, feeling strong. We're ready to go.
So this isn't just about comeback. It's a fight that has already failed to happen once. And now it's finally here on July 31st at UBS Arena, sitting on a card headlined by Usman Nurmagomedov, defending his lightweight title. A 12-month layoff will be a red flag for any fighter. For Dakota, whose entire identity is built on speed, timing, and finishing fights with calculated precision and elite striking, Denise could be the first elite striker that she had to face throughout her whole career. Now let's give credit where it's due, because Dakota didn't get here by accident. She turned pro in 2021 after years in Muay Thai, and the jump into MMA looked almost unfair from the start. By December 2023, she'd won the PFL Europe flyweight title with a first round finish. A year later, she ran through the entire 2024 PFL global season and closed it out by folding former UFC title challenger Taila Santos with a body shot so violent it ended the argument about whether she could beat a legitimate name. That win made her the youngest champion in PFL history and put $1 million in her bank account. Since then, respected voices in the sport stayed talking. One former UFC veteran compared her long-term win streak to peak Ronda Rousey. Yet that's bullshit. Ronda Rousey was all hype. Dakota is entirely in a different league than Rousey ever was. Dakota is in her own elite league, unlike the one-trick pony that Rousey was. Analysts have floated the idea of trading UFC contenders just to get her onto the bigger stage. and Dakota herself hasn't exactly been humbled about it. She said straight up that she'd fight UFC flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko tomorrow and that she'd walk out of the octagon victorious. At only 27-year-old, Dakota, like I said before, is in a league of her own. She's a generational talent, undefeated, finishing fights, and stays humble. Now here's the part of the story the highlight reels don't show you. Before stepping in the ring with Dakota, Taila Santos said Ditcheva was riding the hype train. She said she hadn't fought anybody that was actually tough. And here's the uncomfortable part. Ditcheva basically admitted that herself. But after beating Santos, she said straight up she'd already beaten the best opponents available to her, and that going back into a tournament would just mean facing weaker competition again. That's not a hater talking. That's the undefeated champion on the record, worried there's nobody left who can actually test her. Now stack the injuries and the inactivity on top of that. A star with a spotless record, a full year on the shelf, and a resume that even she has questioned out loud. So when she steps back into the octagon on July 31st, this isn't just about beating Denise Kielholtz. It's about showing the world that she is in the position she is for a reason, despite the year layoff. She's here to stay. She's been training hard, and we believe that she's going to bring her A game. So who is Denise Kielholtz? Before Kielholtz ever stepped foot in an MMA cage, she was one of the most feared strikers in women's kickboxing. A record deep into the 40s, a Bellator kickboxing world title, more than a decade of professional violence conducted almost entirely on her feet. When she made the jump to MMA, the assumption was simple. A striker with no ground game who'd get exposed the moment someone took her down. She didn't get exposed, she adapted. Little do people know, she's a judo black belt underneath the striking pedigree. And she went 6-1 across one stretch inside the Bellator cage. She mixed knockouts with submissions before coming in with a razor-thin split decision of taking the Bellator flyweight title from an undefeated champion. At 37 years old, with a professional MMA record of 9 wins and 5 losses, most sport books have her sitting behind Dakota on the odds. But we can't dismiss her power. She's built an entire career on putting people to sleep early, and she's walking into this fight on a 3-fight win streak, eager to face Dakota. Here's where this fight actually gets interesting, and where the real debate lives. Dakota has the reach, the kicking arsenal she carried over from Muay Thai, and the takedown defense good enough that analysts have specifically praised her ability to stay safe against world-class grapplers. Kielholtz has a sharp jab that's given fighters problems for over a decade, the ability to switch angles mid-exchange, and a killer instinct that doesn't care what the highlight reels say about her opponent. Dakota has said publicly she grew up watching Kielholtz fight in Glory and in Bellator, and that she considers her one of her favorite strikers to watch, which makes this one of the rare fights where the favorite is stepping in against someone she genuinely respects, not just an obstacle standing between her and her next headline. So here's the real tactical question about this one. Can Dakota use her length to keep this fight at kicking range, where her advantage is biggest? Or will Kielholtz close the gap and keep it a close-range striking battle? But we can't forget that Dakota's clinch game is unmatched, so that could get dangerous. Within the first 5 minutes of this fight, we'll see if the year off has affected Dakota at all. I doubt it. She's been training hard, she's in the gym, she's ready to fight. Dakota said in an interview with PFL that her hand is good to go. She's been training hard and she's ready to fight. She also said that Kielholtz had been a little timid in her last few fights, and she hopes that she brings the ruckus in this fight so they can have a good scrap. This fight isn't just a comeback or a name on a poster. There's a real ladder sitting on top of it. A win keeps Dakota on track for a showdown with reigning PFL flyweight champion Liz Carmouche. And this keeps the door open on the fight that everyone actually wants to see, a super fight with Valentina Shevchenko, a fight Dakota has never shielded away from, even while calling Shevchenko the greatest women's fighter she's ever watched. On the flip side, a loss doesn't just snap a 15-fight win streak. It ends the entire conversation before it even gets close to happening. So here's where we leave it, because this fight doesn't deserve a fake prediction dressed up as certainty. Is Denise Kielholtz the most dangerous, stylistic puzzle Dakota Ditcheva has ever had to solve? A veteran striker with real power and championship experience? Or is Kielholtz just another bump in the road for Dakota? Watch it on July 31st. The questions will get answered. Because whatever happens in that cage, the conversation afterwards is not going to sound anything like the one we're having right now. If you think Dakota blows through this like everything else, drop a comment before the fight happens. Let's see who actually calls it.